I want to do something a little different for December. I want to offer you guys the opportunity to ask me almost anything. What I'm going to try to do is answer 1 or 2 questions a day for the month. So all you have to do is leave a question down below. Keep your questions rather general. If you had a question that you want to get answered, leave it down below and maybe I can answer it. Hey, yo, this is Dash. Get ready. All right, here you go. Here's another quick, well, maybe not so quick. I'm trying to figure out exactly how this format is going to work for these videos. But here's a good question that I got from Mr. Hockett. It says, I think you probably answered this before, but why don't you develop a signature rub? And I gleaned a recipe from watching your videos and listening. He says, you already have a brand. Why not expand on that? So my whole thing, Mr. Hockett, is this. I am a fan of I try to stay in my own lane. And I stay in my own lane sometimes to my own detriment. And I know that. It's funny. I was reading your comment. My wife and I were on our way out. We went shopping with Taste Tester number 2. Took him out to get like his Secret Santa type gift, and we were driving down the road, and honestly enough, oddly enough, she was driving. Typically whenever we go out, I drive, and she was driving, which allowed me the opportunity to actually read and reply to some of your comments. So I did read this comment earlier this evening, and I said, you know what, before I even reply, I'm going to do a video response so I could kind of think about what it is I need to say or want to say. Now, when I read this out loud to my wife, she says, you know, you kind of get in a comfort zone type thing and you stay there. And a lot of people do the same thing, do something similar, and I know I am definitely guilty of it. The reason why I think I am more comfortable doing what's comfortable and not doing a whole bunch of experimentation, or especially when it comes to rubs, I have done a decent amount of experimentation when it comes to rubs, but the main thing, and it's so funny because that she says I'm comfortable, when I do different things with the rubs, everyone has a problem with it, but they don't realize so much or so often that they have a problem with it. My kids, not so much. My wife, so much. When like I took a steak and I seasoned it. I went out and got some steaks. When Big Steve sent out the seasoning the first time, I went out and bought some steaks because I was so excited. I just got in Charlotte, finished being assembled, and I'm like, okay, I have to cook something on it. And Steve just so happened to send us seasoning, and I'm like, here, you know, I made these steaks, and she tried the steaks, and she's like, the steak's not bad, and the seasoning is good, but it's not what I expected. And the thing that I have always done from the beginning when I've been doing my barbecue is I've been shooting to be consistent. And I don't know how or why, but I more or less modeled my consistency or my want of consistency from like a national food chain. You can go to a McDonald's in Baltimore and you can get the same burger that you can get in Baltimore, that you can get in Texas, that you can get in Cincinnati, that you can get in, you know, Fresno, that you can get in Washington State. Okay, I always wanted consistency. So I try to be consistent with everything that I do. Now, if I'm making my own seasonings and things like that, not that I can't be consistent, it's easier for me, it's faster for me to not have to go through the developmental stages that might require me to set up a rub. I do have some rubs that I use. They are, you know, for the most part bought off the shelf, but I doctor them up. I you know, take a little bit of this one and a little bit of that one and a little bit of this one and a little bit of that one, and I kind of put those things together, and you know, I use those. Okay, now, can I get out and make my own seasoning? Yes. Have I done it before? Yes. It's just not something that I want to dedicate my time to at the moment. Now that doesn't say that I won't do it. I mean, I made shirts, okay? I remember when someone asked me to make merchandise a long time ago, and I'm like, maybe there will come a time when I'm like, you know what? Now's the right time. I don't know how else to explain it, how else to say it. I don't want to pigeonhole myself and say, oh, I'll never do that, because I won't say I never say never, but I try to never say never. Let's put it that way. But Mr. Hockett, I think the one of the main things, or one of the things that I like to do things well, and it's not a matter of not wanting to fail. It's a matter of sometimes it's not necessarily the right time for my own personal edification to change something that I'm like. Well, and I try to talk about this, and I have talked about this in the past, and I feel like I'm just kind of going in circles here, because I don't know how quite to say how I feel about making changes. And there's nothing wrong with making change. There's nothing wrong with change. But a lot of times I feel like the experiments, when I have in my mind how I like something and I really like it, and if I make a change and I don't like it, then I get upset. And then I'm like, all right, you know, I've wasted this money, I've wasted this time. And I feel like I'm past that stage in my barbecue. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't experiment. And a lot of you guys that are doing experiments, and I won't say experiments per se, but trying new seasonings and doing this and doing that, you might not necessarily, or you might only be cooking for yourself. Now, one of the things that I have to contend with is that I'm cooking not only for myself, I'm cooking, you know, partially for you guys. And sometimes I'm trying to convey a message, or I'm trying to, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this. And this is the hard thing. Like, you asking me a question in this video or in this format, it's easy for me to try and explain it, but sometimes I just can't, because it's up here and it's in here. So, like, I don't know how to explain and say I'm not ready for that portion yet. I'm not ready to make that move yet. But I'm not going to say that I won't ever do it. I'm just saying that I'm not ready for that yet. Like, I want to focus on the next step of my progression, and not necessarily take away from my cooking and my catering because I'm sitting trying to make some seasonings, or because I am, you know, I'm being pulled in too many different directions. I also knew from the beginning, when I got my barbecue started, that I didn't want to have 39 things on a menu. I wanted to offer 5 things, and I wanted to do those 5 things very well. Now, at this point, I've expanded from the original, like, 3 things, which were, you know, beef brisket, chicken, whole chickens, pulled pork, and ribs, baby back ribs. Okay, so 4 things. Then I expanded from those 4 things, and I started doing chicken wings. Okay, I started doing chicken wings. It was like, all right. Then I started doing beef ribs, and then I started doing lamb, and then I started doing salmon. And then I started doing other things to experiment for my family. And that's how kind of how it became to the point where it is now, where I will do this, I will do that, I will do this, I will do that. Oh, sure, yeah, whatever. Okay. But there's plenty of times when I still have those, oh, this is the first time I'm doing something like this, so I don't quite know how it's going to turn out. Like turkeys. You know, I kind of had the inkling that I was going to do a turkey, and I did a turkey the first year I did a turkey, and it turned out okay. And I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I can do turkeys next year. I think I did the first turkey in 2013, maybe. And then I was like, all right, you know what? I think I can do turkeys from here on out. So I just kind of have to take it in my own time. And one of the things that I can honestly say is the seasonings is not something, or rubs is not something that I really want to, like, it's not high on my priority list. And the reason why it's not high on my priority list is because there are people who are out there that are way more passionate about wanting to make the best seasoning that they can possibly make. I want to make the best food I can possibly make and cook it to perfection. I know by the time you get to this point in the video, if you get to this point in the video, again, this is like a brain dump right here, and I don't know sometimes how these videos are going to come across, because I want to be real with you guys, and I want to be, you know, give you guys a little more insight into. I want to give you guys a little more insight into what my thoughts are sometimes, but there are times when I just have to keep some things to myself. But this one is one of those things where I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing, and I don't feel a need I don't feel a need to yet. Now that doesn't mean that I won't, but I don't feel the need to do it yet. At this point, that's just not something that's high on my priority list to do. I can't say what will happen in 2 months. I can't say what will happen in 6 months. I can't say what will happen in a year. Like I said, one of the prime examples is, I remember when people were asking me, or people were talking about, you know, getting shirts made up, and I was like, no, I'm not really into that. And I got to the point where I did get into that. I say all of that to say, though it might not be something I'm interested in doing right now, maybe further down the line, maybe when I get further along and I have more time, or I have, you know, let's say I have a staff or something like that, and I have people who can help, maybe I will be able to do some sort of rub or do some sort of barbecue sauce that I can make and produce and sell. But at this point, I'm just focusing on trying to sell the food. Hopefully, I say all of that to say, hopefully you understand how I feel, what I mean, and thank you, Mr. Hockett. That was a very great question. So thank you guys as always for watching. Thank you guys who have contributed and asked questions and kind of got me thinking about a lot of different things and making me respond to you guys. This has not been easy, I can tell you. So I really want to say thank you to you guys for helping this whole thing along. And we're gonna figure it out together. We really are. So if you haven't already, please leave a question down below in one of these, and I hopefully I can get to answer it. If I don't get to answer it, I will at least reply and try to give you an answer. But maybe we can keep this going afterwards, or maybe this will be something we do specifically for December, or maybe we'll make the videos a little longer. I say this as this video is almost 14 minutes long because I feel like I've been rambling, but it was like anyway, thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next one.